So number one, I'm going to read it and then I'm going to give you a little bit of context to help you out. Approximately 6 months passed between the end of John 6 and the start of John 7. Where was Jesus the last time we saw him in the Gospel of John? He was at a feast in Jerusalem. Which one? Passover. When is Passover? Fall. No. Yeah, spring, March, April. And now where is he in this chapter? He's in Jerusalem again for what? Feast of Tabernacles or Feast of Booths. And when is that? In the fall, like late September, early October. So how long is that? About 6 months.
Yeah.
About 6 months. And then number two, the Feast of Tabernacles lasted for about 24 hours. False. 7 days. 7 days.
Yeah.
Number three, during the Feast of Tabernacles, the people used palm branches to build scale models of the tabernacle, then offered sacrifices inside them. That is completely false. I don't even know how they came up with that. Somebody was giggling when they wrote that question. Number four, Christ attended the feast openly so he could gather a crowd before he began speaking. Also false. Number five, the people at the feast were amazed at Jesus' knowledge despite his lack of education. That is true. Number six, many people dismissed Jesus' claims because of the region he came from. True. And I would say many people dismiss Jesus as Messiah because of where he came from. But yes, he came from the wrong place according to them. They didn't know where he really came from. And then number seven, the religious leaders were upset when Jesus claimed to be sent by the people. That's false. When he claimed to be sent from God. Now, I'm going to read this essay. It's not really an essay, and I'm going to give you the answer to it. So the lesson offered a number of reasons why Jesus may have withdrawn from the public spotlight before the Feast of Tabernacles. Explain one or more reasons for you prefer and why. I'm going to only have you write down one, because only one is verifiable. All the others are conjecture. So what was the one reason that Jesus stayed in Galilee? No, that's not it. That's not the reason. Yes. Yeah, yes. The Pharisees, the Jews, the Jewish leadership were becoming more antagonistic. They wanted to kill him. Or to arrest him, I should say. They wanted to arrest him. Which is why he went quietly. The Jews were growing more antagonistic. They wanted to arrest him. Everybody got that? Now open your books to I had to give my book away to a new student, so I gotta use this. By the way, I will probably be giving you a study guide on Monday because you have a unit test over after this chapter 19. I don't know if it'll be next week, but Might be early the next week. Okay, Christ divides the people at the Feast of Tabernacles. I'm going to read this introduction to you, and then I'm going to turn you loose to answer the questions. You want to do a good job on this question. In many developed countries, Christians enjoy an unprecedented amount of religious freedom. Cultures may not affirm biblical principles, but Christians are generally free to worship, to study the Bible, and to share the gospel without persecution. But many other countries do not guarantee this freedom. In China, the Communist Party restricts ideology and religious practice. The Chinese government conducts frequent citizenization campaigns, that is, to force religious communities to assimilate into the approved version of Chinese culture. Some Christian churches can hold services openly, but only with state-appointed pastors and doctrine. Officials worry that churches may promote Western values, so they require pastors to preach loyalty to the Communist Party, more than loyalty to God. In most cases, children cannot attend religious services at all. Many Chinese Christians, therefore, gather in homes to worship, pray, and learn. But this can be dangerous depending on how zealously their local officials enforce restrictions. Christians are regularly imprisoned or forced to work in labor camps. In India, the law allows religious diversity and freedom, but Christians still face cultural persecution. Recent political movements favor a radical brand of Hindu nationalism, with followers who often use their influence to suppress and denigrate Christians, put them down. In 2021, India passed a law prohibiting forceful religious conversions, not for the first time, but this law is applied selectively. Some Hindu officials use the law to discriminate against Christians or Muslims engaging in any religious activity. If Christians are charged with illegal conversion, they may spend enormous amounts of time and money on their legal defense, even if they manage to avoid fines or imprisonment. Meanwhile, some officials turn a blind eye to mob violence directed against religious minorities. Jesus knew that his teaching would divide people, and if some people hated him, they would certainly hate his followers. John later wrote that we shouldn't be too surprised when the world system opposes us. From the very beginning of the church, enemies of Christ have used a variety of methods to suppress the gospel. Legal persecution. Governments may pass laws or rules that ban Christian doctrines or practices. Regulatory persecution. Governments may institute an approved Christian church with state-controlled leaders and teaching. Selective persecution. Laws may protect religious freedom, but some officials might suppress churches in secret or illegal ways. Cultural persecution. Some social movements view Christianity as an obstacle, so individuals may attack Christians. Familial persecution. In cultures where large family groups control day-to-day life, Christians may be shunned or even attacked by their relatives. Children may be disowned, and wives may be thrown out on the street. Indirect persecution. Christians may also get caught up in conflicts that don't relate to faith. When people attack other ethnicities or ideologies, they may also target Christians simply by association. All Christians will experience some kind of opposition, but we should be careful not to cry persecution too easily. Both Paul and Peter wrote that we should, whenever possible, respect government leaders and obey laws. They wrote this despite living under a government that actively sought out Christians for imprisonment, torture, and execution. So when people mock or dismiss our beliefs, we should answer with careful truth and love. If we cannot respond gracefully to such soft opposition, we will not endure more difficult tests of faith. Christians do not fight persecution, but rather face it, refusing to abandon love, joy, peace, and peace, which no law can stamp out. So you see those questions there. You can work together. First read John 7:32 through 53, and then you can, then you're done for today.